Welcome everyone again to another episode of the ideaXme show, the show that profiles the humans from all around the world with big ideas that are shaping and inspiring the future creators. For all those that like really great stories, I'm Ira Pastor, your exponential health ambassador, along for this journey today. So on today's show, we're going to continue our virtual global road trip and our discussions about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics initiatives, and different ways that they are disrupting the status quo. And in doing so, we are headed back to Africa today. We're going to start with some statistics, though, that are a little disconcerting on the healthcare front. It is estimated that currently there are only about 25 consultant oncologists that service the entire 160 million population of Nigeria. It is estimated there are only one pathologist for every 700,000 patients in Sudan. In Uganda, the number is 1 in 1.5 million. Niger only has 288 doctors for 14 million people. Mozambique, 548 for 22 million. Needless to say, digital health technologies, mobile phones, telemedicine, medical drones, and so forth, all offer the potential for disruptive solutions, especially in conditions where instead of relying on traditional infrastructures, conventional healthcare system models, populations need access to inexpensive, easily accessible, problem-solving technologies, especially if the nearest doctor is a couple hundred miles away. The Republic of Malawi is a landlocked country in southeastern Africa. It's bordered by Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique, and has an estimated population of around 18 million people. It is currently one of the lesser developed countries. The government faces, a lot of challenges on the healthcare front in terms of lower life expectancy, infant mortality rates, high prevalence of HIV, and the World Health Organization recently ranked it at 185 out of 191 different countries. However, with all of those challenges, we still see the emergence of young thought leaders and entrepreneurs that are looking to change the status quo using STEM thinking and the tools that are available to them. Today, we are joined by Mr. Sanga Kanthema. He is a 24-year-old electronics specialist and the founder and CEO of two companies. One, Dolphin Health Innovations, which is a tech startup that is locally developing medical diagnostics, including online ECG and digital stethoscope technologies, as well as QubiX Robotics, which is developing, among other things, bionic prostheses, all from inexpensive discarded electronic components. Mr. Kanthema is also the Malawian ambassador to TME Education, which is a program that aims to promote and popularize electronics and technology-related knowledge all around the world, especially in regions where access to proper training is somewhat limited. All that being said, Mr. Kanthema, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today. It looks like a beautiful day in Malawi.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. To start off, we give our guests the floor just for a little bit to talk about themselves, a little bit about, your background, where you grew up, how you developed an interest in electronics, and then ultimately how you sort of have developed at the epicenter of sort of the STEM educational system in Malawi.
Yes, thank you. I am an innovator and I'm an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So I was born in Malawi. So I've been showing interest in technology since I was young. I've been developing different electronic systems. Then when I was in Form 4, I started developing an electrocardiograph because the thing that I want is to use technology because I like technology and especially electronics because I want to use that knowledge that I have and skill maybe to solve the problems that we are facing here in Malawi. So that's why I choose to start the two startups. One is for developing medical equipment and one is for robotics because they are different fields. So I want to focus on both fields. Mm-hmm. Yes. So then when I started developing in ECG devices, I didn't have anything like money to buy the companies, electronic companies, and the medical knowledge, so even electronic knowledge because I was just in secondary school because I didn't have much knowledge. Then I was buying those components from the in a Rimbi market. They
Hmm.
put they put the SCADA electronics, so I have to get the components from the audio TVs, wirelesses. Sometimes I used from the homes, the electronic devices that I had at home. So then I started developing it. Then I won a Malawi Innovators Design Competition in 2017 when I went
Hmm.
to compete with other engineers. So that's what bring much interest to keep on designing this device. And I didn't just design it because I had a story. I lost my grandmother because of a stroke, and it happens that she didn't have any much good like a diagnosis because they didn't have a medical equipment for diagnosis heart diseases. That's why I developed a much interest in developing an ECG device.
Hmm.
And you see the situation here in Malawi is quite worse in a healthcare because we lost the president in 2012 because we didn't have any cardiologist in Malawi. So that's why we want to focus on developing medical devices for health, for especially the local hospitals based in remote areas, because we wanted to bring those devices, then connect them patients into a cardiologist within Malawi and outside. So everyone should have a chance to be diagnosed with heart diseases because most of the times we have a wrong diagnosis and we have a wrong treatment. So that's a very big challenge.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And in the robotics, so I once developed the bionic arm. It's that arm that they use the muscle from the upper hand, so to control a hand. So I thought of people who lost their hand, so they couldn't even do some simple house chores. So that's why I developed that bionic arm. So bionic hand so that the people should be able to maybe to tie their own shoe to pick a glass of cup for water, a bottle. So that's why I showed much interest on robotics. And at QubiX Robotics,
Hmm.
we're designing we're developing, we call it a CNC machine. It's not like a CNC machine that, this is a wheeled CNC machine. It will be moving on the floor. So it will be using to cut the pieces of cloths. It will be using to cut the wools, but we want much to focus on farm. So it can be used in a garden. So to plant or to sow the seeds, to weed, to do a lot of tasks in the farm. So in the future, I want to develop with huge 3D printer that can even build a house because we also have a housing problem in Africa or in Malawi.
Right now, you're sitting at the Polytechnic campus. Um,
Yes.
talk a little bit about just sort of the what I'll call the ecosystem for this type of um, entrepreneurship in Malawi right now. What are the sort of obviously it's somewhat limited, but are there um, does the government support what you're doing? Is it through university? Are you um, sort of international organizations? Just talk a little bit about sort of some of the issues and the challenges that you face not only as a scientist but as an entrepreneur in getting some of these ideas up off the ground locally.
All right. As an entrepreneur, we face a lot of challenges, and especially in the funding, we
Hmm.
have a skill that we can develop something, but to get something to the market, it's a lot of challenge because we don't have a local fund. One,
Hmm.
we don't have a local fund. We depend on the international grants. So we apply for international grants. Sometimes we get the grant, sometimes we don't because it's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of young entrepreneurs that are developing in Malawi. Because of our environment, we need more entrepreneurs. So young people are just focused on entrepreneur.
Hmm.
So government is supporting, but not much support, because government is supporting through some other organizations, and sometimes it's supported through like universities. Like here in Polytechnic, we have a design studio. Design studio support young entrepreneurs, not just on entrepreneurship, but they support on developing developing systems, just on systems, not on entrepreneurship. So if you are going into entrepreneurship, it's on your own. You don't have a financial support. And as a as an entrepreneur, so I focus on using my own money, pocket money, to finance my own startups. But it's not enough to develop something, especially in Malawi. We are developing medical devices. You have to buy the companies outside the Malawi. So we pay the tax, even a simple chip, you have to pay the tax. So the tax, yeah. So that's I can say it's just waste, but we need more people to support the young entrepreneurs. But there are more entrepreneurs, but they lack the funding.
So then take us on a little bit of the journey with regard to Dolphin Health Innovation. So, you started this company, the focus has been cardiology, as you mentioned, primarily. Walk us through a little bit of what you started with, because I normally sort of, I guess, from the U.S. perspective, we think a little in reverse here, raising a bunch of money and then kind of having this idea that we develop. But you really starting from the very basic level of taking used parts and putting together a prototype. Talk us a little bit through this journey, what it was like, I guess, with youth. Obviously, it's difficult as an entrepreneur, but at the same, what did your friends think? What did your university colleagues think? Talk about some of this story as you got from nothing to sort of presenting to the government of the country.
Yeah. It was really fun at the beginning when I started it. Because I just told my parents, my friends, that I want to develop a biomedical device. So I didn't know about it would be an ECG, but I thought I just want to develop something that can be used to diagnose heart diseases. So I started studying it. Then I just went to buy the company. So whatever the money my parents was giving me, my brother was giving me, I started to collecting some companies. So then I started designing in my own room. I had a great blackboard, so I draw everything, what I want to achieve, in how the circuit diagram, everything. So first it was a post exhibitory. I use the LEDs, the infrared LEDs, so to get the pose of heart pose from the finger. So he started working. Then I thought of, this case is funny, but it cannot be used to diagnose diseases. Then I started that I wanted to develop a real ECG. First, it was a free read ECG. I went to just from my room. Then I went to Polytechnic Design Studio. Then I applied for a membership. So my brother-in-law gave me some money to pay for a membership at the design studio. So out there, I met Matthew Patton. Matthew Patton helped me a lot with the development of the ECG. It took me almost 4 to 5 months before it started working. It was a free read ECG with a little knowledge about the electrocardiograms. Then my friends it was just interesting project. Everyone was interested in that project. So because it was, people don't do that here at Polytechnic in Malawi. So everyone was interested with that project. Then when it worked, I was very happy because I knew that the concept now was working. So I thought of how can I put it on the market. It's just a huge device. It was messed up, but you can't put that on the market.
Sure.
So I thought of entrepreneurship. I took the entrepreneurship very seriously because I have to develop something that can be used, that can be given a permission. So then that's why I started it. I founded a Dolphin Health. So in 2017, it was in November. That's why I already told you that I won Malawi Innovators Design Competition. I was selected for Global Innovators Full Science and Technologies GIST TKI, and in America I was also shortlisted in Johns Hopkins University of Healthcare Design Competition, and I went to Egypt for World Youth Forum to showcase my startup and my device. So device been tested not in a medical situation, but it tested but it's been tested with the engineers and some doctors. It's cool. Then I thought of developing in a 12th grade ECG that will be available in hospitals. So it took me some months to develop it and to source a fund. So I developed everything myself. And then now I have my friends, Reno, Sozi, and the other friends that are helping to develop. So we all want to use artificial intelligence because we only have less than 4 cardiologists in Malawi in a 16 million population. So just the 4 cardiologists. So that's a very big problem. That's why I want artificial intelligence and it's IoT basically because the device will be used in a remote area. Then it will be sent a signal to a cardiologist through a mobile phone or computer. So in there, in the remote area, they won't have a computer or huge device. It's just a small handheld device that is with the electrodes. So the patient will wear a sensor. That's an ECG. Then that ECG will send a signal into a cardiologist anywhere it be. It can be in Malawi or outside the Malawi. So we want to connect like all the hospitals if possible, and I hope it will be possible. We want to connect all the hospitals in Malawi, especially the small hospitals, because we have 86% of Malawi populations that are living in a remote area. So most people who are suffering from heart problem also live in a remote area. That's our focus. So right now we have I didn't bring it here. We have okay, yeah, maybe I'll show you. We have a ECG, that's a 12th grade ECG. It's very small. It's been printed in China, of course, but we want to assemble them here in Malawi. So this is a device. It's very small, but we hope we will reduce the size as much as possible, and it will be a solar panel. It will be used with a solar panel. So we have you have a battery. So it can be used in a place where there is no electricity. So yeah, and then we hope maybe next year we have a product. We hope so, but we're still developing and this prototype, and we're developing all the online platform because we want to have one online platform where patients and the doctors will all meet together, so they can be share the tips and do some diagnosis easily.
Excellent. Yes. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, look, for the amount of time you spent on it, I mean, you've really come a long way anyhow in terms of developing sort of the prototype. So it's fascinating, and I take my hat off to you because it's, you know, these things take time, and with the limited resources, you've come a decent way already. As far as your other company, QubiX, I mean, you mentioned the you know, some of the work with the bionic prostheses, but this company also, I think you mentioned, is involved in industrial automation and things of this nature as well. Just talk a little bit about sort of the big picture with QubiX, if you will.
All right, QubiX won't much focus on automation, industrial automation, and robotics. So we have a 1 meter long CNC machine. It's a computer numerical controlled machine. It will be used the computer generated code. So you can design any product, like for example, you want to cut some piece of cloth, or you want to cut a plywood. So instead of we using a hand tools, so you just design it on a computer, then transfer it to generate a G code. You put it into that device. It's a CNC. It's a wheel. It has a wheel. So it will be moving on the surface. Then it will be cutting. It will be cutting it for all the size in the all the. Or I mean, it has a free dimension. Of course, it has the X, Y, and the Z. So it's not a 3D. It's just a 2 dimension. So it will be cut whatever you have designed. Then within a small period of time, like within the minutes, you can have maybe you can be work. You can work. You can it will be done the work that you could do in maybe some hours. So that device, I think it will be very important in a industry, especially in the digital manufacturing.
Sure.
So that ECG it will have unlimited the length because it will be using wheels instead of a desktop ECG. I mean the desktop CNC that we use. So our special CNC it will have unlimited the length, and we want to use it in a we build one that we can be used in a farms. So in farms it can be a lot of tasks. It depends what you want to do with it. It will be universal because we just need to replace the tool. All you need is to replace the tool. You want to cut, you put the tool that can cut. You want to maybe to use the laser light, you want to use any tool that you want. You just replace the tool. So that's the basic of it. And as I said, we want to develop another huge CNC machine. And I hope next year maybe we started developing one prototype. It will be a big project. We want to develop a giant 3D printers because I was interested when I saw some 3D printers. So it's the same technology, but we want to develop a big 3D printers that we can able to print the houses. And our CNC device was built with the local materials, just the pipes, just the timbers. So everything was built locally. So we didn't source anything, especially in the motors, in the controllers. In my controllers, that's what we sourced outside. But all of them was developed. It was founded in Malawi locally.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. In addition to your sort of entrepreneurial and your research activities, you are also the Malawian ambassador for this TMA education program, where this group is, very focused on spreading education, popularizing electronics and related technologies around the world, especially in different regions where access is limited currently. Talk a little bit about your role here and sort of, obviously you're passionate about your own work, but you're also extremely passionate about, educating everybody else in the future. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing here as well.
I think it's an interesting work at the TMA Education as an ambassador. I'm a STEM tutor. I train the youth, different youth. Especially I love to train the girls, the kids about the electronics, the technology. So I want to improve the digital literacy in Malawi. Because it's waste. A lot of people don't even know the internet. What the internet is. They don't even know the YouTube, the Facebook. They don't even know. So digital literacy is very poor in Malawi. So that's why I go to the different regions or the districts in Malawi to get the people. I don't see the age. I don't see the gender. I don't see the education background. I meet the different youth, and I introduce them to electronics. I also teach them entrepreneurship because I want more people to focus on the technology. Even if you bring the technological solutions, but if people don't know the technology, don't trust technology, they won't use it. Even in the business, it's bad for business. So if a lot of people know about the technology, have a technology literacy, so you have an environment where we have a young people grow with another different mindset, because we are living in a global community now. So Malawi Malawi is just the gap is growing so big because the poor country just going poor and the rich countries are going richer. So what makes us what makes this different? We think technology can make this gap, can reduce this gap, or we can catch up with other countries if we have a lot of people who know about the technology. So that's what I like to teach, and I've been teaching for 1 year and 2 months. I've been teaching, so I can say it's also my daily basic job because I'm always on somewhere teaching some people, and when I come back during the night, I focus on my innovation startups. Yeah. So I have to balance both of them. So I have to go to travel to meet the youth, and I have also to design. Also, I have also to do the business as an entrepreneur. So I have to keep the balance.
You're defining the life of the typical entrepreneur that, and this is entrepreneurship 101. It's not, as unfortunately, too many people, I think nowadays, they see, these giant baskets of money falling from the sky from Silicon Valley or wherever to start up a company. Here's $100 million, go do something. But at the end of the day, the majority of all entrepreneurs in the world are doing what you're doing. You work and you, at the time, you do your job, and then you think of big ideas and you work on them too. And this is, I think, how human beings and society has grown for thousands of years. And it's very impressive that, you definitely are passionate about it, and you got to work. But at the end of the day, as you say, you don't have time to sleep. Go build your company. So it's very impressive. What are the, I know this is a tough question, but take us out 5 years, if you would. Where do you see yourself going? I mean, in the ideal world, if the money fell from the sky, what are you going to be, what do you see yourself doing with the Dolphin? What do you see yourself doing with QubiX if, resources were sort of not an issue? Take us out a little bit into the future of where you want to be with these companies.
Yeah, I think the future will be much interesting because I think I have a vision for Dolphin. So I want to introduce the cyber healthcare. So this is where all the hospitals will be transformed. You have a biomedical devices. So it will be how we hope to develop a wearable devices so everyone can have can be monitored anywhere. So we want to connect all the people, all the patients in all the hospitals and all the doctors into our platform, into one like one community. That's what I want for a Dolphin. So we want to develop a lot of biomedical sensors. So we just focus now on the heart diseases, but we will focus on other diseases, and we'll be focused on the patient, not just the diseases, but also focus on the patients, the health of the people in Malawi. So most people don't interested in or don't show much interest in their health because I know because of the lack of public education in a medical, in the human anatomy, because most people don't get much go for checkups. So most people go to the hospital whenever they sick, especially most of the times when they are ill sick. So we want to change that by awareness, public awareness, and we want to also develop more devices, and we want to as I said, transform the hospitals, not just like ordinary hospitals. These will be much advanced the hospitals. We hope to do that in a Dolphin F. In the at QubiX, QubiX. I like much about QubiX because I like robots. In the robotics is much fun. So, but we hope robotics will help a lot of people. And we teach. I teach robotics too. But what I see is as I said about the building a giant 3D printers. We want to solve the housing problem. So housing problem in the manufacturing. we most of the things we're using in Malawi don't manufacture in Malawi. We have to export. So we want to use these robots to manufacture different the different things for like a furniture, even just the furniture. So we want to in a fashion design as our CNC can even cut the piece of cross. So we want to improve the digital manufacturing. So it has to be our tradition to use the machines or to use a robot when we want to do things instead of using a manpower. We are poor because we're using a manpower so much. So I think if we want to use, we decided to use them robots or robotics in the machines, we can change our country. So we can be able to manufacture things, a lot of things at a lower cost in the time management.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's why. So we want to develop a big company in Malawi, both QubiX and the Dolphin. We want to employ a lot of people. That's why that's why I like teaching people about technology. So maybe in the future we can employ them.
Yeah, they're employees. Those kids are your future employees. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One final question, and this has to do about the people that have influenced you the most on your scientific and entrepreneurial journey to date. These can be obviously scientists, they could be artists, philosophers. Are there specific people that you either know or read about or whatever that have kept you positive and on this path to do what you're doing? It can be family, it can be teachers, whomever, but are there specific people that you might want to give a shout out to that really helped you so far on your path?
There's a lot of people, of course, but first shout out I want to give my mom, who bought me a first stethoscope. And I used the stethoscope. I wasn't a medical student, but she trusted me. She bought me a stethoscope that I used to when I was designing a digital stethoscope. I didn't talk about that digital stethoscope, but the first conventional stethoscope was bought by my mom. That's why I want to give her a first shout out, and she's been encouraging me because I've been working in my room, so she was there with me all the time. So working, shout out to my mom, shout out to my brother Sanga Kanthema. He also assisted me when I teaching. So always he been with me, my brother Tes, and I shout out to African Kus, Timisane Kariate. Those are my mentors. They've been mentoring me in the entrepreneurship and the innovation. And shout out to Matthew Pitney. He's been helping me in a design studio to develop ECG device. And there's a lot of people that I can say. I just can't forget Iran Hardware. He's a doctor from the Harvard. He also whenever he's in Malawi, he's been helping me to connect with a lot of people. He connected me with the cardiologist. He invite me to important conferences. Of course there's a lot, but those are one I can share. Give a shout out to.
That's great. I think it's obviously everyone's mind is important, but you clearly point out that especially in this era and this distributed context, that you need a team, and whether your team is with you or whether your team is in Harvard or MIT or Asia, wherever. You're building an ecosystem around yourself, and I think that's extremely important and very admirable. And just once again, wanted to really thank you, give you praise for what you've done with so little to date and come this far, and your passion for not just building your own stuff, but for teaching others to come after you is equally inspiring. So really thank you for that. Once again, for everybody that is going to be you're watching on this YouTube channel or listening on the various podcasts, we've been taking the time to speak with Sanga Kanthema from Malawi founder and CEO of Dolphin Health Innovations and founder and CEO of QubiX Robotics, doing truly amazing things with very limited resources down in Malawi, but really, as we say on the show, changing the world and inspiring the future and the future creators in his teaching processes. Sanga, thank you for not just taking the time, but taking, doing what you do and really changing the world for Malawians, but in the region and elsewhere, and doing your inspirational stuff, because it really is very inspirational. So thank you for your time today.
Pleasure is all mine.